Hi, everyone. I am Daniel Pasco Aguilar, founding director of the Center for Social Justice and Chief Diversity Officer at Excelsior University. Welcome to Excelsior University's celebration of Second Chance Month. Excelsior Center for Social Justice and the Civic Engagement Growth Team are thrilled to be hosting Trent Griffin-Braaf this afternoon. Welcome, Trent.
Thank you.
We are honored to have you today, and we're thrilled about our partnership. Before we have the opportunity to introduce Trent formally, and before we get a chance to learn about his powerful journey, Pamela Jimenez, Program Director of the Center for Social Justice, has kindly offered to say a few words about Second Chance Month. Pam?
Thank you, Daniel. Welcome, Trent. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Every year, more than 650,000 people are released from state or federal prisons with limited resources and opportunity to rebuild their lives. In April, we recognize Second Chance Month as an opportunity to contribute to build an equitable criminal justice system that allows those entering our communities to have a fair shot at reaching their full potential. Second Chance Month is a critical awareness campaign highlighting the importance of reentry and rehabilitation for individuals with criminal records. With over 70 million Americans having some form of criminal record, the need for second chances has never been more pressing. The United States has one of the highest recidivism rates in the world, with approximately 76% of released prisoners rearrested within 5 years. 76% of released prisoners rearrested within 5 years. Studies by the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers and the Bureau of Justice Statistics demonstrates that this cycle of recidivism not only affects individuals, but also their families, communities, and the economy. Second Chance Month seeks to address this issue by promoting reentry initiatives, policy reforms, and community support programs aimed at reducing recidivism and empowering individuals with criminal records to become productive members of society. By providing access to education, employment, and healthcare, we can break the cycle of recidivism and create safer, more equitable communities for all. Welcome, Trent. We are delighted to have you with us today and look forward to your presentation. Back to you, Daniel.
Thank you, Pam.
Sure.
Now, before we pass the microphone to Trent, I want to thank a number of people and units that made today's event possible. Starting with Jamie and Sarah from Development, Scott from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, Linda, Maria, and Naila from Marketing, Erin, Jason, and Connor from Communications, Chris and Roger from ITS, Jill from the President's Office, and Pam from the Center for Social Justice. Thank you so much for your amazing partnership and support. And now, I have the privilege of introducing Trent Griffin-Braaf, who has graciously offered to speak to us about his journey in his keynote titled "From Felon to Forbes: Trent Griffin-Braaf's Reentry Roadmap." Trent is a distinguished entrepreneur and visionary leader with a remarkable track record in the transportation industry. As the founder and president of two successful companies, GB Logistics and Tech Valley Shuttle, Trent's expertise spans passenger transportation, trucking, and logistics, solidifying his reputation as a specialist in the field. His exceptional talent lies in identifying, nurturing, and harnessing business potential, both in terms of enterprises and team development. Trent's journey to success is a testament to his resilience and determination. Following a regrettable decision involving narcotics sales after high school, he found himself serving a 12-year prison sentence at the age of 19. After completing 3.5 years in prison and an additional 2 years on parole, Trent faced the harsh realities of felony discrimination in employment and the inability to drive due to his prior convictions. He relied on public transportation and took temporary jobs for over a year. In 2016, Trent founded Tech Valley Shuttle, leveraging his extensive hospitality network and experience. What began as a hotel shuttle service soon evolved into a community transportation provider with a mission to combat poverty through innovative transportation solutions and empowering its employees. In response to the global pandemic, he established his second transportation venture, GB Logistics, which held a contract with Amazon for last mile delivery of large packages until July 2023. Trent's vision is to support ex-felons and other underserved populations, making employers of choice. Today, through his insightful anecdotes and practical strategies, Trent makes available a roadmap for individuals seeking to break free from the shackles of their past, redefine their futures, and forge their own paths to prosperity. Prepared to be inspired, motivated, and empowered as Trent illuminates the possibilities that lie ahead on the journey of reentry. Trent, we are honored to have you with us this afternoon, and we are honored to be collaborating with you. Thank you for your partnership. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you to the whole Excelsior team here for having me today. Thank you guys for joining and making the time to be with us today. I'm excited to share my story of going from just a felon to being on Forbes. And hopefully I leave everyone with a little bit of motivation, as well as a little roadmap as to help continue down your pathway towards success. And so with that being said, I'm going to share my screen and get this party started. So here we go. And so my company, Tech Valley Shuttle, last year received the Stellar Business Award for the best places to work for formerly incarcerated individuals in the country. That's something that I take a lot of pride in, especially being someone who's experienced incarceration, and now to be receiving an accolade as one of the best places to work for formerly incarcerated individuals means a lot. And I'm hopeful that I'm able to share with other employers how to do the same. So March 16th, 1984, at 3:16 in the morning, I was born. And my mom always said that she knew that I was special being born 3:16 on 3:16. And I'm happy that I got to live up to that for her. So I'm someone who was born in New York City. I was split. My parents, they weren't together or married by the time I was birthed. And so my mother, she lived in Tracy Towers. That's the big buildings to the left. That was a project building in the Bronx. And then on the right with my father, he lived on Riverside Drive in Harlem. And so Gretchen, I agree. 3:18 at 3:18, you got something special there. Sorry, I just had to chime in. But so split between two households. At the age of 8, after having a fairly, decent childhood from my perspective, outside of my parents living split households, I always had my basic needs met, and both parents made sure that I had good Christmases, and so I never really felt or needed for much. But at the age of 8 is when everything kind of took a flip for me. And it started with my father passing away. I believe it was like 2 weeks before my 9th birthday. And so my father passed away. And because of that, my mother decided to move back to Albany, New York, that being her home. That's where she's originally from. That's where her support system was. And so it was bye-bye to the big city and hello to the little city of Albany. Within about 6 months of being here, it was very obvious that my mother was battling her demons. Came in the form of, one day my mom just was missing. And we ended up finding her, and, that led to her agreeing to go to Conifer Park so she could start to attack her demons and battle her demons. And so here you now have this 9-year-old kid who went from being with both parents to now living with my grandparents. And during that time, my grandparents were pretty strict. And so I really didn't get to leave the backyard, if I'm being quite honest. And that meant that I got really good at playing sports. Could catch well, could throw well, and definitely practice basketball, which went on to be my passion and still one of my passions to this day. I love basketball, but I found through sports and through music, those were my escapes, and that's how I was able to charge myself during those times. Back to the school situation. So I was a fairly decent kid in school. School came pretty easy to me until they introduced letters with math. That's when things got wonky for me. It kind of lost me at that stage of my life. And that's also probably the first time in my life where I allowed being mediocre, not even be a mediocre. I allowed myself to fail. I literally was taking ninth grade math until I was in 11th grade. Year after year, I just kept failing, and I allowed myself to fail. I didn't push myself. The only thing I was trying to do was be on the basketball team. And so when the season was on, I would get just enough grades that I would be able to play. But outside of the season, I wasn't doing anything extra. That mentality I was able to slowly pass, but like anything in life, it caught up to me. And it caught up to me my senior year, and it caught up in the form of me having to go to summer school that year. So I didn't get to graduate with my peers. I didn't get to walk across the big stage at the theater. I actually walked across our cafeteria stage in summer school that year. So that losing mentality spiraled down, and I decided that I wanted to go to college still. Both of my parents had college degrees. My mother was still encouraging me, you really need to go to college. That'll be a foundation. And so I tried it. And so first I went to SUNY Morrisville, which is a state university in New York. I wanted the college experience, and so that gave me the opportunity to live on campus. The only problem is I failed out the first semester. So within 3 months, I was right back home. But I didn't want to give up on my college journey because I figured like I had to do this. And so then I decided to go to Hudson Valley Community College. Didn't finish a semester there, hopped to SCC, same exact thing. So each time I was doing the bare minimum, taking on that same mentality that I once had about, just getting by. And that losing mentality ultimately allowed me to continue to spiral out of control. Um, that spiraling out of control looked like me deciding that I wanted to surround myself and put myself in situations in which I started to sell narcotics. Um, that I couldn't have been any older than maybe 18 and a half years old at the time, and just about to turn 19. And quickly, it was game over for me. We know how that story usually ends, usually either incarceration or death, even. Fortunate for me, it wasn't the latter. But unfortunate for me, on September 9th of 2004, I was in Schenectady County Jail, in which I was being charged with A1 felonies. And for those who aren't familiar, A1 felonies are like the second highest felony tier that you can get. That left me in a space where I was looking at a life sentence at the end of my on my sentencing. However, I ended up copping out or agreeing, admitting my guilt to having narcotic sales and trafficking. And instead of getting a 4 to life, I got a 4 to 12-year prison sentence. Um, on March of 2005, now I went from being known as Trent Griffin-Braaf to being known as 05A 1273. And for anyone who's ever been incarcerated, that's what is called your DIN number or your identification number. That number is something you will never forget. I know people who know their DIN numbers and don't know their social security numbers. That's how embedded these numbers get into your head, because you lose your identity once you become property of the state or of the federal government. And this is the way they identify you, as a number. And so the first two numbers identify the year of which you come into that institution. So I was shipped up north in 2005. A represents which facility you went into, and then the 1273 is just the number of people before me that year. And so I happened to be the 1,273 person who went through downstate. That experience for me was life changing. Here you have a 19-year-old kid who's separated for his family from the first time, and put into a setting with, grown men and with other individuals who've been in this setting for a long time. I believe it would be scary for almost anybody. Um, when you match in the first day I was actually in downstate, the police chief came in and he gave us a speech. Basically, he onboarded or welcomed us to the institution. During his speech, he gave thanks to us for being there. He highlighted the fact that because of us and individuals like us, we've been able to put his children through college. His house is paid off, and he has a good salary. And then he went on to tell us that, he looks forward to our next visit when we come back again. And so that moment was really, like I said, life changing because at that moment, I said, I can't continue to do this, especially understanding that at this point, some people benefit from my incarceration. And I put myself in that situation with the decisions I made. So I was going to be the one that needed to be responsible to assure that I never went back again. So here I am, 19 years old. I'm serving my 4 to 12. These right here are called click clicks. And so you usually, when you have visitors, they come and you take pictures at times. And it's a highlight of many people's experience in there. It's just being able to see your loved one. This was my girlfriend at the time. Today we're married. That's the only reason I still have these pictures and share them. And so, but the thing about visits are so important because they keep individuals connected. In addition to that, recidivism rates actually drop with visits in each visit that an individual gets. So I don't think it's a coincidence that I could tell you that on my hands, I could tell you how many visits I've missed during my incarceration years. But I also think that plays into effect as to helping me not go back. And so that's why visits are so important for individuals who are incarcerated. Another not fun fact is most people are shipped over 100 miles away from the place of which their crime took place. And so at this point in my life, I'm actually shipped away to the Adirondacks. So it takes my family a couple of hours to come see me when they do come see me. And I was blessed with an opportunity to go to Marist College in Poughkeepsie through Green Correctional Facility, which for us is only about 30 minutes away from the capital region. And so when I was given the opportunity, I didn't take it initially because I wanted to better myself. I honestly took it just to get closer to home so my family didn't have to commute as far. And so, however, as I got into that setting, it became very evident to me clear that you can go multiple paths. I can associate myself and I could waste this time, or I could really try to better myself and I could utilize this time for what works best for me. And so that's exactly what I did. I really started to focus on my personal development, my physical health, my mental health. I love basketball. I joined basketball leagues. I was able to win 2 championships in 2 different prisons, as well as my spiritual endeavors. I was able to explore multiple religions. I was able to build a relationship with my higher power. At that point, I became an avid book reader. To this day, right now, I'm on book 18 of this year. Looking to see how many books I could churn out, but it all started in that cubicle. And then also personal development, workforce related. So I actually got certificates on how to be a janitor. And you're going to see how that became relevant as my story continues to unfold. But lastly, the Marist College experience. And so after the first semester, if you remember, I've had failed out of 2 community colleges at that point and a SUNY university, because I had a loser mentality and I was giving up on myself. However, with this experience, I decided I was going to lock and load. I mean, what did I have else to do anyway, right? And so I said I really wanted to push myself. And at the end of the first semester, the college teacher came to me and he pulled me to the side and he said, "Hey, Trent, I just want to share with you, you should be really proud of yourself. You actually had the highest grades in the class, and not just for the class I'm teaching in here, but my classes as well on the university." And so that little moment was my aha moment where, it all came back to me where I remember those report cards where the teacher said he would be good if he applied himself or if he wasn't the class clown, those sort of comments. And I was like, man, these teachers were right. I wish I would have applied myself years ago. Imagine where I could have been. And so from that moment on, I decided that I wanted to be a forever learner because I identified that knowledge is infinite and we only know what we know. And so I wanted to continue to seek out and learn as much as I possibly can, a journey that I'm still on to this day. So I spent that time on my personal development. I was released on April 21st in 2007. And that was my official reset for my life. And it was a reset because now it was coming out, it was years removed, and I had the opportunity to recreate myself from the person I was before I became incarcerated. So for a good year, like it was said by Daniel at the beginning, I spent a good year doing odd jobs. My wife recently reminded me that I spent some time painting. I learned the trade of painting. I sold vacuum cleaners door to door for some time. But my PO didn't kind of really like those. He didn't see those as real jobs. And so ended up doing some temp work because at that point in 2007, if you had a felony on your record, odds are you wouldn't be given the opportunity. And so I had to build some credentials. I didn't really have any work history. And so that looked like me taking the bus, humbling myself, getting on the bus, humbling myself, going to a temp agency every single day and just taking what was being provided to me and making the best of each moment. I remember I remember saying to myself, nothing lasts forever. This too shall pass. If I was able to do years inside of a cell, I can do some months working for a temp agency or even some years until I get my opportunity. Well, that opportunity came much quicker than I thought. I'll say that opportunity actually came in the form of cleaning toilets. And it was a hotel in East Greenbush, New York. It was a Marriott, not this one. And they said to me, they hired me as a part-time houseman. And I used to show up there and I put my best foot forward every single day. I kid you not. And by me showing up and not giving up on myself, but taking pride in everything I did, it opened up an opportunity where they said, you're such a great toilet cleaner. You should do the full-time job cleaning toilets. And we have another Marriott in which we're looking right now. Again, being no fool to an opportunity, I said, please, I would love to. And so I was allotted the opportunity to work here at 22 Holland Ave in Albany, New York at this Town Place Suites. And I came in as a houseman, full-time houseman, cleaning toilets, driving the shuttle bus, basically whatever the hotel needed, I did. And within 6 years, I worked my way up to the operations manager. And it took a lot of obvious blood, sweat, and tears, obvious as well as a lot of personal growth on the job. I needed to learn the language of the hotel industry. I needed to learn how to be a manager. So I remember taking the time my break came after being a houseman for probably a good 8 months. The lady at the front desk, Rebecca, she told me that she was leaving. She was moving out of the state and she thought I could be a great candidate to lead the front desk. She saw something in me that I probably didn't see in myself in that moment. And what she would work with me every single day at night and show me how to answer the phones, how to check people in, how to do all of the things. And so when she went, she put her notice in. At the same time she put her notice in, she also made them aware that she had been working with me and that, they already have my replacement in-house. And luckily the general manager took her word and he gave me the opportunity. I took that my new opportunity and then I started to identify, oh, we need a front desk manager. And so I actually had a target list unbeknown to my coworkers at the time in which there were individuals who I could see myself doing their jobs. And I knew it was only a matter of time, but either they would move on or, they would be replaced. And in my mind, I was the replacement either way. And so once again, I was just taking the time to learn other positions, learn the language. Lo and behold, that hard work paid off. And like I said, six years later, I was the operations manager. Now, at this point, it's the first time I ever had a salary job in my life. I'm getting PTO, vacation time, and life is good, right? And however, I also have my goal in mind. And my goal is I want to be a general manager of a hotel at this point. And so I do what most people do with who are inexperienced in the workplace, and I just quit. And I thought at this point I would be easy to get a job because I knew as an operations manager, every business needs operations. I would at least can always fall back on that. That was my mindset. Uh, Little did I know, no, the felony would still be a little bit of a deterrent, but now organizations were basically coming back and saying to me, hey, you don't have sales experience. Well, like I jokingly say now, little do they know, I sold drugs, right? So I definitely had some sales experience. But that doesn't always correlate too well when you're talking to HR. And so what I needed to do was gain some real sales experience. And so put on my hat and decided to pivot. So this time I pivoted into property management, and I got allotted the opportunity to run this property for Morgan Management in Waterville, New York, about over 200 units. And in 1 year, I was able to increase occupancy over 95%, as well as increase revenue. And I didn't even have like a solid, consistent team. And so that right there was all I needed. And so after that year, I had my sales experience. I'm right back on the hunt, and I land my opportunity. My opportunity came in the form of this hotel called the Belvedere Inn, a little boutique hotel. And as you can see from the difference from that Marriott, which was 100 rooms, to this 20-room hotel, in my mind, I say this is the easy lift. And so, but this was my chance to shine. And so I took that hotel from doing a couple $100,000 to over 1.2 million my first year. Then I look back in the second year, we did 1.5 million. And that's when I started to really assess and look at the fact that for the first time, I could see the bottom line and how what I was bringing to the table was affecting the bottom line in a positive manner. And then I look back at, I remember being that 19-year-old kid who went to jail, trying to make money. And here I am now making other families millions of dollars. And so it was kind of that moment where I said, I really want to, before I leave this earth, I want to shoot my shot at trying to do the same for my family and build a legacy for myself. And so started to once again look for opportunities. And if you haven't got the cue yet, opportunities is always a big thing. I think that a lot of time people don't take advantage of all the opportunities that are provided for them in life. Oftentimes we look at an opportunity as something that might be below us or a step back. But I like to always tell people an arrow has to be pulled back before it could go forward. And so a step back oftentimes is really a setup for taking major steps ahead. And that's literally what happened. So I started in 2016, Tech Valley Shuttle. At this point, I was sitting on the hospitality boards in Schenectady. We knew about the whole, at that time, there were no rideshare, no Lyft, no Uber. It was just the yellow cabs. And the reputation of the yellow cabs were, they smell like cigarettes, they're dirty, they're not reliable. And knowing that, I went to the hospitality board that I was on, and I said, hey, if I create a shuttle service specifically for the hotel industry, one of my mentors at that time used to always tell me, the riches are in the niches. Like, figure out one thing and do it really, really well. And so I thought the only world I knew really was the hospitality world and a little bit of real estate, but the shuttle didn't really correlate with real estate. So in my mind, the hospitality sector was ours for the taking. And so December 15, 2016, I established Tech Valley Hospitality Shuttle with one Sprinter van and 4 employees, including myself. And we set on the mission to help hotels. And we did really good. I would say within the first 2 years, we grew, and we were working with over 40 hotels throughout the capital region, providing services for like wedding groups and airport shuttles. It really evolved into more than even what I had foreseen. But By 2018, also is the first time I received a poverty report for the capital region. And it became very clear to me that poverty and transportation go hand in hand. And because of that, I had my mindset on maybe I could use this transportation company to put a dent into the poverty that's taking place. And so we started to explore access to employment as our first thing. How do we help individuals from underserved populations or who lack reliable transportation get to and from work every day? How do we help employers get access to employee bases that they historically couldn't because they couldn't get to them? And that was what we set out to solve. And so we started to do what we call today the Driven to Work program. Um, by 2019, we were rocking and rolling. 2019, I had the opportunity to apply to partner with Amazon. I remember us doing so good that in 2019, I told Amazon on the application that they could Google me. Can you imagine that? You telling Amazon to Google you? Like, and so that didn't work over too well with me getting the contract at that point with them. But I really it didn't matter because we were rocking and rolling. We were peaking. However, what did matter was 2020. And in March of 2020, when the whole world stopped because of that thing called COVID-19. And because of that, we lost literally 99% of our contracts. That 99% of our contracts, the 1% was two driven to work contracts that we had, where we were working with a nursing home. They were deemed essential also, so we got their team to and from work, as well as another company. So once we were deemed essential, I remember going back to the office, and the very first thing we did was we started to make phone calls to school districts, county officials, and just asking and nonprofits. And we were asking just how can we help? I have some vehicles, I have some individuals that I want to keep with getting hours. How can we help? We're not going to charge you guys anything. At that moment, we realized that food insecurity was such a big issue. We seen how individuals who lived in rural areas didn't have access to foods. We seen how they were doing food pickups, and it would be lines of cars around the corner. And so we started to partner with nonprofits and county officials, and we started to actually bring food to different individuals throughout the capital region to address food insecurity. That same summer, we also helped Six Flags Great Escape save their summer because we were able to provide transportation because they didn't have access to the J-1 visas. Those are the students that usually come over during the summer work months and they work for them. But with the travel restrictions, J-1 visas weren't being approved. And so we were strong resources for two big things in the region: access to employment as well as food insecurity. That really helped us get on a path. And, since COVID, most of those contracts and those relationships we build turned into actual contracts for the company in which we started to get cash flow. One of the things to this day we still do is we address food insecurity in the region. We have a partnership with the regional food bank, as well as some of the large companies like the Walmarts, the Targets, the Price Choppers, the Aldis of the world, in which every single day, me and my team, we recover about 25,000 pounds of food that would have been discarded. And then we redistribute those foods to different food banks across the region. And this year alone, we'll be able to say that we've helped over 4 million meals be provided in the capital region from this. It was the first of its kind of a partnership, and it was paid for by Feeding America. So we actually started and created a new service line that now is being followed nationwide. In addition, access to employment, our commuter benefit program, in which we continue to help individuals, the most vulnerable workforce, get to and from work every day, is something that we still take part in and do a lot. We help a lot of employers in the capital region get past these barriers. And we're starting to expand it now into like internship programs, job fairs. So really utilizing transportation to help individuals with their workforce. And then reducing recidivism. And so since I want to say 5 years now, going on 6 years now, Every Mother's Day, we do a free community prison shuttle to Bedford Hills, which is in New York State. That's the largest female correctional facility, in which we try to get visits to those individuals on Mother's Day, because I feel like the female population is oftentimes the lost population in the justice system. And so last year we had the opportunity in which the Cohoes Police Department, which pictured in the picture, actually sponsored the service. And we had one of our teammates, Krista, who was actually incarcerated in Bedford Hills, do the actual service and help get other individuals from the community to and from so they could visit loved ones. We also do this 3 other times throughout the year. We do it on Christmas, Thanksgiving, and then we sneak another one in throughout the year. But we just find just to try to do it to help to really connect families and loved ones. And we have been in talks as of late of maybe restoring our Sunday service, where on Sundays we would identify a prison hub and then we would just bring people to and from that hub. And so it's something that we are exploring to maybe get back into. And then, we're huge on employment and workforce development. And I created this program called the Roadmap to Success, which we'll dive into a little bit later on in the presentation. But, we take pride in being a second chance employer. Our whole premise is to help with leadership development. And within my organizations, I've helped a lot of people go from entry-level roles to leadership roles. At Tech Valley right now, our lead driver, Ben, started off as a driver. He is someone who has done multiple stints incarcerated. We had a young lady on our team, Azor, who she started off as a driver, became our fleet admin, justice impacted as well. Our sales leader, Darnell, same situation, came in as a driver. He was part of the first 4 that we started with. Today, he's our sales leader, also has done multiple stints in jail. And so we are 100% made up of underserved populations as an organization, with over 80% of the team being justice impacted. And then the other 20% of the team either identifying as having a disability of some sort or as a veteran. And so we're literally showing other organizations how you can have success with all these populations that are oftentimes counted out or the hardest to employ or underemployed. And we do so with the emphasis on developing our teams. And now we've actually started to expand out and doing a lot more to help youth as well. So we have an internship program where we work with local colleges. We do summer youth and after school employment where we work with local youth in the high schools. And our whole thing is to help these youth understand how they can be successful in the workforce. And so because of some of the things that we've been able to do as an organization, it's led to a lot of publications and us being featured like in the Sherms of the world, the New York Post, Workable, the California Business Review, Bloomsburg, New York Weekly, and just a lot of eyes and ears on what we're doing at Tech Valley. When you come into business, you oftentimes don't come in for that. As well as the recognition that we've been able to receive in terms of awards. Like we started with the Stellar Business Award, also awards in diversity, equity, and inclusion for business. We were the first Black-owned business to ever be named one of the best places to work in the Capital Region by the Albany Business Review. As well as, 2 of my favorites are the Forbes. So Forbes in 2021 named me as one of the next 1,000 entrepreneurs in the world, as well as last year, the SBA, Small Business Administration, named me as the Small Business Person of the Year for upstate New York. And so, again, didn't come into this even thinking of these being any of the outcomes or the recognition that would be received. But it does feel good to, receive these recognitions. And it always reminds us that we're doing the right things. And so I'm really happy that we've been able to do those things. But again, more importantly, we're moved by the work that we're able to do, because we also understand if it wasn't for the results, none of this would exist. And so what that's led me to become, I have a very unique vantage point in terms of I'm a credible messenger. for people who've been previously justice impacted or been involved in the justice system or, even the juvenile justice system. But on the flip side of that coin, I'm also a trusted messenger in the business community. And I'm regarded as, a business leader, someone who's a credible source of information, especially when it comes to helping underserved and underemployed populations. And that combination has led me to really expand upon what we call now the roadmap to success. And the roadmap to success really came about as a part of our onboarding at GB and at Tech Valley, in which we really just wanted to get to know our team. And it was more so a moment for us to sit down with individuals and identify what are their goals and how can we support their goals. And it didn't matter if the goals didn't align with the work they were doing today. We just wanted to know, what do you want to do? Because I believe in my heart, the more that you support an individual internally or externally, it builds a different kind of relationship and rapport. And I think because of it, I have umpteen amount of people who at any moment are willing to do anything to help because they know I've been willing to do anything to help them. And so instead of it just being our onboarding though, it was actually then created and I was able to build it out to become a curriculum. And so now this curriculum is created to help both employees and employers have success together, pair them together in the workplace through lived experience as someone who was formerly incarcerated has been able to work their way up to entry level, to C-suite, and now even having their own businesses. And this curriculum, I'm currently, here's a little more. Actually,
Trent Griffin-Braaf is no stranger to these walls and knows firsthand the challenges people.
I'm gonna skip that because the video is a little choppy. But essentially, that's a News 6 feature on the program. Basically, talks about this. It talks about the different elements of the program. The first element being workforce development, enhancing, workforce success through this training program. The second part being the business leadership training. And so one thing I identified was what made Tech Valley a little bit different than most of other businesses, where our leadership line was created of individuals who had these shared experiences of either being incarcerated, justice impacted, risk youth, homeless at points. We've had individuals who had youth at a young age, dropped out of school. So we had individuals who moved to America from other countries on my leadership team. So we had totally different vantage points of, on my leadership team, which allowed us to look at situations differently than most employers do. Because we were able to show empathy towards individuals on the team when things came up. And that empathy really helped me identify that most businesses, the disconnect is not just with their workforce, but it's also with their leadership team. And the saying, you don't leave a job, you leave a bad manager. And so when organizations talk about workforce development, oftentimes they're thinking of the people at the bottom of the spectrum. But in all reality, every single person in the organization should have some sort of leadership trainings that are happening in development. And so that became the missing piece for us. And I said, you know what? Let's start to train other businesses on what things we're doing here so they can have that success level. And then the last phase of it is us being able to combine the two worlds together. So after someone graduates from our program, I can now say to this person, hey, I have these organizations that are in our pipeline. These are the positions that are available. Do you see anything that fits? They say yes. Then I can say, hey, I can tell you that this particular organization definitely has a roadmap where you could grow with them based upon things I've done with them in the past. And I could go to the organization and say, these individuals graduated from the program. And I can guarantee you that they've been provided with the skills and the resources and the tools in which they could be a resource for your organization. And now combining those two worlds together, pairing them together with a hope of increased success in the workplace, as well as opportunities for individuals to grow with that work. So the Roadmap to Success program is something that is currently being done inside Department of Corrections. this is actually a post from New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, where they were highlighting the program, basically just talking about how we work with individuals who are within 120 days of being released, and they go through the program, and then how we're able to then assist them upon release and help in continuing with employment opportunities or with their development, whatever that might be, depending on what course they want to take, in terms of what course they're looking to take to enhance their career path or their journey. I did have another.
Shuttle only had a class E license, but
That was
with the help
just
of Trent and Tech Valley Shuttle, I was.
That's funny. But I was able, that was just another testimonial. That was from one of the gentlemen that I worked with, Leslie. He came to us as a regular driver, as you could kind of hear him say, and we were able to help him get his CDL. One thing about us too is once we help an individual get their commercial driver's license or whatever it is, we've helped people get into construction. We're helping someone get into the restaurant field, become a chef right now. So it doesn't matter the field. But more importantly, we just want them to have opportunity. And the last thing that Leslie says on that video is, now I have a high paying job that's changed my family's life. That's what it's all about. And so, as well as helping returning citizens though through this program, we also are working with the veteran population, helping those individuals have success in the workplace. We know there's traumas that individuals experience as they come home. And to help them get past some of those traumas, but also learn how to once again develop and grow in the corporate world. We're helping individuals who are in recovery, and through this particular program, we also offer transportation. And as you can see, you know, based upon some of the things that on the right hand side, these are actual comments from some of the riders who took this survey, and how they were saying little things like, it might only seem like transportation, but if it wasn't for their commitment, I don't know if I would be able to stay clean and sober. Other ones, having the same driver who dropped me off there to pick me up keeps me out of trouble in the neighborhoods I'm used to live in, knowing that there's someone here to save my life. I need these meetings to stay clean. I need to go to stay out of trouble. So showing how, once again, when you pair up the message being delivered, as well as the transportation aspect, how we're able to really empower and help change people's lives. In addition to that, our youth and workforce education and development program, we're currently in the midst of offering this to Berkshire. And we're in talks with a couple of school districts right now, in which I think next year we'll actually be teaching this in the school districts as well, because we've identified that no one ever teaches you how to be successful in the workplace. And at least they didn't teach me when I was in school. And so now, especially in schools that have higher poverty levels, this is something that I want to start to work with and offer. And if you guys take a moment, you look at one of the gentlemen in the picture, his name is Lorenzo. He's been with us for 2 years now. Lorenzo came to us, he couldn't type. He very limited reading skills. But he's the gentleman who has like the mask hanging off. You see now he's typing with 2 hands. He understands his home keys. The gentleman in the back, he's actually doing some marketing work for us. So we're actually taking the time to teach these youth how to utilize computers, understanding that IT and computers are the way of the world, but also teaching them how to communicate with adults on an adult level, how to hold real conversations. Every Saturday, we take these youth into different nonprofits in the community, teaching them to engage with the community and the importance of giving back. This is what we're doing through this roadmap to success now. And it really all just comes from, my lived experience. Lastly is people experience homelessness. And so we have a partnership with the city mission in Schenectady, in which we offer transportation through Tech Valley. We offer the roadmap to success for the individuals in the program. And the program is called Homelessness to Home Ownership, in which we've also brought in Key Bank as the financial leg that helps with financial literacy, helping for savings and getting individuals into first-time home ownership programs. We have Ellis Hospital as well as Price Chopper as two employers who guarantee employment for the population. And the city mission, we found apartments for individuals, so they're not living in an open dorm setting, but they have their own space. And our whole goal and the whole initiative is to help individuals go from experiencing homelessness to being able to acquire their first home within 2 to 3 years. And so we're also in talks with Albany County and expanding that program out to SHIP as well. And so again, the roadmap to success started just to help one population, but we could see the parallels in which we're able to help many. And then the last piece was, like I said, the employer engagement piece, in which we work with employers on everything from introducing them to the criminal justice system down to, you know, how to celebrate success with the individuals in their orgs. We teach about, you know, building trust and communication. What is rehabilitation? You know, how do we support? So really taking a deeper dive and teaching the employers how to work with this population as well, with these populations. And each one is the different curriculums are catered to the population that they might be looking to work with. But this is a picture at a recent coaching session with an organization in the region. And then, you know, just some more testimonials again. This was from me going and talking with a family focus adoption services, and really, you know, talking to their team about the importance of the work they're doing to help these high risk youth. And also just showing like, hey, I was a high risk youth. And if it wasn't for having a good support system, I wouldn't be where I am today. The same way that the work that they're doing, highlighting how important it is for the youth that they work with as well. And so, you know, long story short, I guess I could say if this kid who was born into poverty, who comes from the Tracy Tower projects, who grew up, you know, losing a father at a young age, so in a single family household filled with drug addiction, abusive relationships I saw growing up, a guy who barely finished school and, you know, who went on to be a 2-time felon, who's done prison time, has been able to go from just that 05A 1273 to essentially being featured in Forbes and Bloomsburg. I can guarantee you that anybody else can too, as long as they're willing to maximize their 24 hours, as long as they're willing to be inquisitive, ask questions, as long as they're willing to surround themselves with the right people and support systems, and if they have the resilience to not give up on themselves and know that it's possible, I can assure you that all of the wildest dreams could be achieved. And so leave you with, you know, a picture of that young lady who was in the Click Clicks with me. You know, you see us years later celebrating our marriage together. We now have 4 children, 3 little girls, and then Lincoln up there on the top. You know, it just really goes to show you that all things are possible if you're willing to stick with it. And, you know, I'm hopeful that today's presentation just provides a little bit of hope and motivation for others to show that you could get through anything in life. It won't be easy, but it is possible. And so, as I said, I'm a forever learner. Wrote a couple of books that I like to recommend to everyone here. Second Chance Month. I know we're at the end of Second Chance Month, but if you're not familiar with the last 2, This Bird Has My Wings, as well as Right Am I Wrong, these are both books that are written by individuals who've been justice impacted. Jarvis J. Masters is literally still in prison right now on death row in California, but has an amazing book. And Shaka, his book is going on to, you know, be in Oprah's book club. He's been featured in her by Oprah. Just amazing stories. And then the top one is called White Like Me by Tim Wise. And it's a really powerful exploration of privilege and what that really looks like. And I think it's just a great eye-opening book. It really helps connect all of the dots. And so just some books that I recommend to everyone out there if you haven't read them already. And if you have read them, maybe a good time to revisit some of them if it's been some time. And with that being said, you know, I will leave you guys with a couple links really quick. So if you ever had any questions or if you wanted to check out my websites on the left, feel free to take a quick picture. And on the right, you have my calendar, and also the bottom is the link tree where you can find about 70 different published articles about myself and my organizations. And then I will leave you with the last slide right here. So you guys can also continue to check that out and go visit Excelsior University's website as well. And I'd like to thank you all for your time today.
Trent, thank you. I knew I was going to be inspired, but I have been moved. And thank you for sharing your story and for letting us see a piece of what you have experienced. Just as highlights of some things that I captured, 316 of basketball. Maybe our next meeting is going to be a basketball court. Two basketball lovers.
Okay, we can
So
definitely do that.
we can maybe get there. But just a few things, the power of family and contact. In the context you shared it seemed so powerful and meaningful, the importance of focusing on our health and wellness. Yes, regardless of the circumstances. The importance of focusing on our personal, professional development. I decided to be a forever learner and to learn as much as possible. And nothing lasts forever. So put your best step forward every day and focus on learning and preparing for next steps. I thought that was very powerful. And then all the way to becoming an operations manager. I love that. That's a wonderful part of your story and representation of your resilience, Trent. Look for opportunities and pivot as needed. Remember that an arrow needs to be pulled back before it goes forward. Right. Identify needs and pursue service, leadership, and workforce development opportunities. Love that you have a 100% workforce in your organization. So exciting to see that you became one of the next 100 entrepreneurs of the world and SBA Small Business Person of the Year. That's amazing. Thank you. Help others identify their goals and find ways to support them. The importance of empathy as part of a successful organization and of helping others to do better. And then the importance of community engagement and giving back. So, I mean, these and much more. There was a question in the chat. Gretchen, you were asking for this was an inside-out program. Is that enough information for you, Trent, or Gretchen, could you elaborate on what program you're referring to, please?
There's also another question by Mark. He has his hand up. I'm not sure how we get to that though, Madeline, unless he asked it in the Q&A. If you can ask it in the Q&A.
Yeah, so maybe, Gretchen, if you're still on, if you could share to what program were you referring?
I wonder if she was referring to an inside-out prison program.
Probably because
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So it was the inside-out prison program through Marist. Yep.
Okay.
Right. And Mark, would you be able to write your question down, or Nyla, is there a way to unmute?
Trent, you're looking at the chat, right? So you're seeing all the wonderful,
No,
but I can
did.
read them to you. It's not a problem, but they're great messages coming through for what you've said so far.
Let me check it out.
This was a great
Family
presentation.
might not be a bad idea to read them. Would you mind?
Sure. This was a great presentation. You have a great program here and are making a difference in so many people's lives. Congratulations and thank you again. What an inspiring story. Thank you so much for sharing this. Thank you so much for sharing. Great job, Trent. Thank you for sharing your story. What an amazing and inspiring story. I feel like Tech Valley should be added as an option for our volunteer week here at Excelsior. We just finished celebrating it. Thank you, Trent. Inspiring. Mr. Griffin-Braaf, thank you so much for your thank you so much for your story. You represent not only yourself and your family, but all those that are still out there asking for second chance. Thank you so much for that. Then there's a lot of them. Amazing story, Trent, incredibly motivating. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, Trent. Excellent, inspiring presentation. It was always in you to succeed through your travel, though you traveled an unconventional path. And respect. Wow, great story. powerful story with an inspirational message delivered by a dynamic person.
Thank you guys. Thank you all for that. I appreciate that sincerely.
And now you know why we're so excited to be collaborating with Trent in exploring the development of a prison education program. We're in the beginning stages of this, but we are so thrilled to have this opportunity. Mark, was there a way? Oh, here it is. There's a question by
Two.
Daniel. Two questions.
Mhm.
Is internet access still heavily restricted in prison? It would be great if we might be able to offer some of the courses to that population if there was grant public funding for it.
Great one. That there is still internet access is very limited. It's something that I'm trying to help exploit. I actually have a call, being that my program is in Green Correctional Facility, I've started to build a really good rapport with their team over there. And I have a call scheduled next week to see if there will be opportunities if we could expand the technology aspect in there. So more to come, but very good question.
That's right. And he's reminding us that we used to use CD-ROM corresponding courses.
True indeed.
All right.
Great to hear. Thank you.
So I am looking at time and I'm noticing that we're out of it. But Trent, thank you for being here, for who you are, for your leadership and your inspiration, and for partnering with us. We're so thrilled.
No, thank you. Thank you
to
guys.
be doing that. And thank you everyone for participating. Thank you, Pam. Thank you everyone
Thank
who
you.
made this possible.
Thank you,
This is
Trent.
not the last time you'll hear from Trent, so get ready for more.
And thank you all for making the time to be here.
Thank you, Naila.
And hearing our story. So thank you all again. I sincerely appreciate it.